So marketing is one of the most dynamic industries right now. New platforms, trends, and algorithms are discovered every single day. So it's time to switch on. Today I'll be sharing 5 marketing changes and trends that you can expect to see and need to be ready for in 2023. And stick around to the end because the last point could provide you with a massive opportunity for online growth and sales. So let's get the boring one out of the way, and it's a boring one because it's obvious. So obvious in fact that it's actually happening already. Right now. I'm of course talking about the domination of short form video content. You probably heard this mentioned all the way through 2022 and you might think that this is a pointless point to make, but you'll be amazed at how many influencers and companies have still not caught on to this incredibly effective medium. And I think this is because the main platform that this was introduced with and introduced on was TikTok, which older business heads seem to think is a kids app that only kids use. But just like when all the other social media platforms were introduced, the demographic is rapidly shifting. That bracket is increasing and older people are definitely finding their way onto TikTok, just like they have with Instagram, just like they have with Facebook. And although it was TikTok that did start this sort of short form content trend, they have actually been taken over by Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, who are putting a massive focus on this short form video content. YouTube Shorts has over 1.5 billion monthly viewers to TikTok's 1 billion monthly viewers, and Instagram Reels get played 140 billion times per day. The short form content war has only just begun, and the fact that YouTube themselves have put £100 million worth of creator fund onto their short form content platform kind of says all you need to know, that this content is here to stay. And I've personally seen this method and medium be very successful for some of my own social media clients. But it isn't just the videos that are getting shorter, so is the actual lifetime of posts too. Be Real came and went pretty quick last year, and although the platform is now massively declining, the medium of very raw content with an incredibly short lifespan that gives a really authentic and realistic window into a person or a business's life has become very appealing to a lot of the big platforms. TikTok have now implemented a like-for-like feature, and if Twitter or Meta get involved in this sort of trend, then you should too. And it is kind of likely that Twitter will jump on this trend because, to be honest with you, no one knows what they're going to do next. Elon's acquisition of one of the biggest and best social media platforms has been a roller coaster so far, and it's a roller coaster that is only going to continue throughout 2023, which is exactly why it's second on my list. Towards the end of 2022 and throughout the start of this year, Twitter has received thousands of little tweaks in both the back-end algorithm and the front-end user experience. Notably, we now have a following and For You tab on the homepage, which has been ripped straight off of TikTok. We also have a very interesting tweet view count, and of course the infamous Twitter Blue, which we're definitely going to pick up on later. In truth, Elon's takeover of Twitter has been a little bit of a mess. From locking all of the employees out of the office for a while with little to no reason, hugely shaking up the internal hierarchy, and making some poor decisions as well, such as banning links to other social media platforms, which got a lot of backlash and was quickly resolved. But regardless of what you think of these changes, or even Elon himself, the fact is, big changes have been made and will continue to be made, especially throughout this year. Just like with Tesla, we really don't know how much of what we're promised is actually going to come to fruition. But this Twitter 2.0 that we keep seeing and keep getting teased by Elon himself does look interesting and would have some really useful features. Long-form tweets and advertising as entertainment seem to be the two that initially stand out to me for my sort of business. To be honest, there is so much to cover here. I think this is going to be another video in itself in the future. But the bottom line in this video is keep an eye on Twitter, and also keep an eye on Twitter Blue, because whether you love it or hate it, I do think this is soon going to become the norm and be adopted by all of the other platforms. For those who don't get what we are talking about here, we are talking about my third point, which is the monetization of social media platforms. Ever since their arrival, social media companies have mostly relied on advertising for their revenue. And while this will probably still always be the case, you can't help but think that as these platforms grow and get even bigger, they're going to start opening out and looking for more lucrative streams of revenue. When you think about how much we use these platforms, the fact that they are totally free in most cases is quite impressive, and I do think that a lot of companies are going to start to realize that maybe they're giving away a bit too much and there's more money to be made. It's very easy to also forget how young these companies are, and as social media becomes more and more of an absolute necessity to most people, this paywall will begin to be constructed. I've always found it crazy how Sky get away with charging extortionate fees for their packages, yet still cram basically every single program they make with tons of advertisements. And then on top of all of this, they'll go ahead and charge massive pay-per-view fees for big boxing events. But of course, they get away with it because we don't want to miss out on watching the latest and greatest shows. We don't want to miss out on Premier League football. We don't want to miss out on the biggest fights. So people just suck it up and pay the price. And don't you think that in the future, many people will have the exact same reaction to not being able to see tweets from big accounts that they follow, celebrities, and whoever else it might be? You just already know that they will. But this will be an extremely gradual and discreet process. And like Twitter Blue, to begin with, the benefits of actually paying these subscription fees will seem pretty pointless. But slowly but surely, that paywall will rise. The platforms will begin to charge. And once that first paywall has been constructed, all of the others will be very, very, very quick to follow. And it is all starting this year. The next one is even more of a slow burner, but once again, it's already starting to happen. And that is the introduction of AI into the marketing space. This is yet another huge topic, and one that I think I will cover in more detail again soon, but AI is rapidly developing and actually slowly being integrated all around us. You may have heard of OpenAI's DALL-E or ChatGPT, which seem to be the two most popular online AI tools at the moment. Well, Microsoft are one of the biggest investors in this OpenAI technology, and are currently trying to revive their search engine Bing to compete with Google by integrating this OpenAI technology. This gives this very new technology a huge amount of validity and trust from more casual users. And from what I can tell at the moment, it looks like all of the focus is on getting this image creation tool, DALL-E, integrated smoothly and up and running for the masses to use. And the chatbot features will probably soon follow, so again, we'll pick up on that in the future. Now, there has been a huge amount of talk about how AI could affect the creative and marketing industries, and actually the integrity of going ahead and using these services too. People do feel like we'll soon get to a point where we don't even know what is real anymore. And we're already close to that point with the likes of high quality Photoshops, but this is just going to take that to a whole new level. And there's also another huge discussion all around the copyright issues surrounding this OpenAI technology, because all of the images that are being created are getting taken from somewhere, and these artists that are getting this work ripped away from them are not being credited in any way. However, I think you should actually look at all of this as a huge positive for marketers, as being able to generate almost any picture you could think of and imagine in a matter of milliseconds is going to be incredibly powerful and effective for future content creation. And it could also lead to some really exciting and effective marketing campaigns. And this is something that I'd actually be really happy to talk to my clients about, but at the moment I'm sort of hanging back and holding fire because there's going to be a lot of changes, there's going to be a lot happening in this space throughout 2023, so my advice is sit back, watch, and jump on it if the moment comes. Just like the recession itself, this paid media crash is all simply speculation right now. But it's definitely not speculation that big media and tech companies are laying off thousands of real people right now due to a decrease in forecasted ad spending. According to these companies, we are still looking at a natural growth in spending across the board in 2023, but a smaller increase than what we've seen in previous years. And because this is such a fresh industry that is rapidly growing year on year, a lot of the big media companies are always overspending, constantly chasing their tails so that they don't get left behind. So this reduction in forecasted growth has been a real curveball for them, a real stumbling block, and a real serious moment for a lot of people's livelihoods. And who knows, if a recession hits really hard, we might actually see a couple of these social media platforms dip into the red. And also keep in mind that this year there's no planned huge global events. For example, last year we had the World Cup, and also recently we've had the Olympics. Events like this massively ramp up online advertising from the biggest spenders and the biggest accounts. However, in misfortunes for some, opportunities for others arise. And us media buyers need to pay a very close attention to the market throughout 2023. Because if this ad spend decrease does actually seriously affect the likes of Facebook and Google, we could see a drop in advertising costs across the board, or at least the opportunity to get more out of your budget. And this would be hugely beneficial to smaller companies, and not just monetarily either, because if there's big companies taking up less ad space on these platforms, there's more chance that your advertisements will reach your target market more often, therefore making more out of the budget that you are spending. Now, once again, this is simply all speculation right now, but best believe that companies like mine are going to be watching this like a hawk throughout this year. And that's one of the many reasons why working with the right ad agency could be hugely beneficial for your business's growth in 2023. But regardless of all of these points, 2023 can still be a very successful year for you in your online advertising, as long as you stick to your core strategy while constantly evaluating changes. Being proactive is key. Have a good week.